Howdy y'all, and welcome to Texas. Today I wanted to go over how I'm shooting arrows of different weight. It can be a pain dealing with different trajectories, but as long as you know your modified zeros or your holdovers, it can be easily done. My primary arrows are Black Eagle Rampages cut to 28.5 inches long, 350 spine, with a stock 50 grain insert and 125 grain head. This comes out to a total weight of 440 grains. That's a perfectly appropriate arrow for my 28.5 inch draw pulling 65 pounds. The first thing you need to have squared away is a tuned bow. If your bow is out of tune, none of your arrows will hit consistently. Take the time to paper tune and bare shaft tune, and get your bare shaft, field points, and broadheads all hitting the same point of impact. Once my bow tune was squared away and I confirmed that my primary arrows were zeroed at 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60 yards, I proceeded to build my heavy arrows. This process took time, letting the bow tell me what arrow setup it liked. I started with a pair of bare shaft 250 spine arrows that had a 100 grain insert. Using a Ranch Fairy test kit from Ethics Archery, I shot the arrows at 10 and 20 yards using different weighted field points. Based on the impact angle of each point weight combination, I could see which arrows were hitting the target straightest. The 200 grain point ended up performing best of all, leading me to my 630 grain heavy arrows. For optimum performance, I also took time to knock tune each arrow before fletching them. Now I finally moved on to shooting both arrows and understanding my holdovers. This is best done with a fairly large target, as your heavy arrows will hit noticeably lower than your primary arrows. I placed a square of high-vis duct tape near the top of the bale to give myself a fine aiming point and have room for heavy arrow drop down range. At 20 yards, I shot one group with my primary arrows and another with my heavies. For both groups, I kept my 20 pin that is zeroed for my primary arrows on the target. This allowed me to see how much lower my heavy arrows were impacting. While aiming at the target, I could see that my 30 pin was lining up perfectly with my heavy arrows impact at 20 yards. Then I continued this process out to 50 yards. At 30 yards, my heavy arrows were impacting just low of my 40 pin. At 40, heavies were about 5 inches below my 50 pin, and at 50 yards, they were about 8 inches low of my 60 pin. This gave me a set of holdovers that I could use at these distances, but were still confusing for anything that is not on those 10-yard increments. From there, I had to do some trial and error. I moved each target a little closer and shot a couple more groups. From here, I was able to determine that once again, my 30 pin equaled 20 yards, my 40 pin impacted at 27 yards, the 50 pin hit dead on its 36, and my 60 pin equaled a heavy arrow impact at 45 yards. While this is a 25% decrease in my capable range with this sighting series, I've also stated that I'm not going to be using these heavy arrows past 25 yards. The increased trajectory is not significant considering I'll be limiting myself to the top 3 pins of my sight anyway. The last step is to practice and confirm these holds. Having some sort of 3D range with targets at variable distances is extremely helpful for this. I spent time picking a target at random distance and getting used to my new heavy arrow zeros and holds. This also meant getting used to the additional arc of the arrow and figuring out how obstacles can impact the flight. I'm planning on spending the next week before hunting season shooting exclusively my heavy arrows and engraving the zero distances in my head. Having arrows that I can shoot far with and arrows that I know will hit hard up close, as well as just gaining familiarity with my bow and its capabilities, has given me a lot of confidence. In previous years, I did not practice nearly as much and did not have as much time dedicated to tinkering with my setup. I'm hoping that with the different setups, I can see for myself what really happens when animals are hit with different broadheads. I'll be logging all of my hunting data on my survey linked below, and will publish the data as I log and receive it through the season. I'd really like y'all's help and would love to see y'all's results too. Please check it out and send any questions, feedback, or additional data to the email at the top of the survey. I hope everyone has a great hunting season, and I have really high hopes of hunt success this year. I'm really hoping to get a bunch of shots on film. Good luck filling your freezer. Get out there, kill, and eat.